In this group of videos, we are going to go back and look at hardscapes again. The first time that we looked at hardscapes, we were really just looking at the 2D representation when you're viewing them in top plan. But there is actually specifically a tool that's used to make hardscapes. The 3D hardscape, essentially, it just adds thickness to the hardscape, and there's a couple different ways to create them. The easiest is by extruding a shape. There's also a hardscape tool, and a hardscape object specifically, as opposed to an extrude, it's a smart object, and what that means is that it can be used to do things like calculate area and volume, run reports, show construction detail, modify a site model, and all of those you may learn further on down the road. So for today's class, what we're going to work on learning is how to extrude a shape, and then how to combine an extrusion with its 2D representation. Then we're going to start using the hardscape tool, and then there's a third method where we're going to make a hardscape using the create objects from shape command. So first up, I already have some shapes here in my file just to demonstrate for you. This first shape that I have is just a rectangle. You're already familiar with the rectangle tool. And right next to it, here is an extrude. So let's actually back up. I'm just going to go ahead and give this extrude, let's give that like a color fill. And then let's come over here for the next one. We'll give it the exact same color fill. And next, I'm going to extrude this. And so to do that, you go up to the Model menu and then click on the Extrude command. The shortcut is Control-E or Command-E. So click on Extrude, and then it's going to ask you how thick you want that to be. So I'm going to go ahead and enter in 3.5. Now, anytime you enter in a number, you don't follow it with a foot or inch mark, it automatically does inches. So this is just going to be 3.5 inches. I don't need to worry about adding that inch mark. What you may notice is that I had given both of them a solid gray fill, but now this one is just it's called wireframe. I can only see one simple outline of the shape. Let's take a look at this in 3D now. Over here in the basic tool set, I'm going to click on the flyover tool. And then my favorite mode to use is the second mode, and it's called the interactive origin mode. And what that means is wherever I click in the active drawing layer, that's where I'm going to rotate from. So you can see it's giving me this marker, and now anywhere I spin, it's just in relation to that marker point right there. So let's kind of zoom in here and compare these two shapes. Our rectangle has 0 thickness. It is just essentially a flat piece of paper on the drawing plane, whereas our extrude has the 3.5 inches that we assigned it when we created it. And you can see over here in the object info palette that if I wanted to, I could actually change that after the fact. So let's go back to top plan view, and next up what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete that shape, and then I'm just going to make a copy of this and show you what an auto hybrid is. So now I can go over here with the extrude selected, and I can come over here to the landmark menu and then go to the architectural submenu, and I have this option called create auto hybrid. And now you can see that I am looking at both my gray fill in 2D, and if we come back over here into 3D, you can see that I have that thickness, that 4-inch thickness of, let's say, concrete. And so what that command did for me was it combined the rectangle, my original rectangle, which was my shape, with that extrusion. And so now I have what's called an auto hybrid. So one thing I want you to note is that as I select these different objects, they all say that they're different objects over here, even though I created, for example, I created the extrude out of a rectangle originally. So this is a rectangle. Rectangles are 2D objects. This is an extrude. An extrude is a 3D object, and an auto hybrid is a combination of the two. There's one extra thing that I'd like you to know about working with extrudes and auto hybrids and files, and that is if I come over here and I select this auto hybrid over here, and in the object info palette I come back over here, and I have this Z-plane right here, and the Z-plane is the elevation at which this object sits. So if I go back into a 3D view of this, if I come over here and I change this Z-plane to 10 feet, you can see that that goes up 10 feet in the drawing. If I come back here to top plan view, that auto hybrid has disappeared. And so this probably will not be a problem for you right away, but later on down the road, when this issue comes up, I want you to know how to fix it. And it's as simple as coming over here to the object info palette. And right here you have a field for cut plane elevation. And so anything that is above 4 feet in the drawing, you will not be able to see. I think that this is a tool that is more helpful for architects, but not so much for landscape design. And so what normally I do is if I've made an auto hybrid, I just come in here and I change this to a really large number. So in this case, I'm going to do 100 feet, and I do need to use the feet mark in order for that to be correct. So I'll hit enter, and now I can see my auto hybrid, which is at 10 feet in elevation. I can see it both here in top plan view as well as in a 3D view.